Hey there, it's Monica Brooks, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about knee jerk reactions. And so much of what I talk about on the podcast is just things I'm learning in real life as I go. Sometimes it's observing a situation, and then it's also what I'm doing, a behavior I may have that I am trying to work through. So, today is about that knee jerk response. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's when something happens and you just respond right away to someone. You may say something hurtful, something you don't mean. You might regret it later. Maybe you're jumping to conclusions. So, if you are ready, let's get started.
Welcome to the Becoming a Better You podcast. My name is Monica Brooks, and I'm a self improvement enthusiast who is eager to share tips and strategies to help you become the best version of yourself. As an inspirational speaker who transitioned from a corporate career, I'm here to guide you on your journey towards enhancing your overall human experience. If you're ready to take the first step towards becoming the best version of yourself, then you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Now, I love talking about the brain. I don't know a lot about it. There's certain pieces I do know, though, because when I go to talk to groups, I talk about the amygdala, which is a little almond shaped part of your brain. It's actually part of your limbic system, the emotional core of your brain. So it's very simple. The amygdala, it scans for threats and it helps you react fast, like milliseconds. It's faster than a conscious thought. So if you think about if you were to feel a hot stove, you forgot it was on, your amygdala reacts and you pull your hand back right away, right? There was no conscious thought like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? This is hot. Let me move my hand so I don't burn myself, right? Amygdala went to work right away as it should. It's designed to work that way. Now, there's this other part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. It's right behind your forehead, and that is your reasoning center. So it's responsible for judgment, for impulse control, weighing consequences, empathy. Like it does a lot of good for you, but it's also slower. It's deliberate. It's the part of your brain that comes online a beat or two after the amygdala has already fired. Why do I share this with you? Because this is where those knee-jerk reactions come from the amygdala responding as it should. But it doesn't know the difference between, okay, hot fire, I'm going to react quickly, or someone just said something that made me upset, I'm going to react quickly, right? It's like it's doing its job. Now, I went back and looked up where did this term knee-jerk reaction come from? And it fits very well with like what the amygdala does because a knee-jerk reaction is simply just like it sounds, like a reflex, right? You go to the doctor, they hit your knee, your leg pops out. You gave zero thought to it. You did not make a decision in that moment. That is the same thing the amygdala is doing. It is responding with zero thought attached to it. So think about a time you may have had a knee-jerk reaction to something, and then you later went back and was like, I shouldn't have said that. Why did I say that? Why do I act this way? Why do I do this? That's just your brain working as designed. So you responded that way because the amygdala kicked in, the knee-jerk reaction, no conscious thought. This is where we get ourselves into trouble, though, because what we really want to do is create more space between the amygdala reacting and the prefrontal cortex responding. One of the things I talk with in my audiences is called the power of pause or power in the pause, because I wish I had known this so much earlier in life, even in corporate, like my leadership role, how important it is to learn how to pause. Like you don't have to respond right away to anything, to like what someone said to you. Maybe it offended you. Maybe you didn't like what they said. Maybe someone did something to you. Learning to pause and to understand you do not have to react. You don't have to say your opinion. You can create space and allow that prefrontal cortex of your brain to kick in instead. There was a term I heard, and I don't know where it came from, otherwise I would credit them, but they called it shift it to neutral. And that's exactly what we want to do when we feel the need to respond to something quickly is just don't go full speed ahead. Don't shift it to drive because that's when we can damage relationships. We can say hurtful things. We can jump to conclusions about something and later realize that was not the case. That's not what happened. That's not what they meant. But shifting it to neutral in that space between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex and how they work is your power. That is the growth. I think where we struggle with this in our society also is that everybody wants our engagement. Social media, that's their goal, is to get you to like their content, to comment on it. We are being asked for our opinions all the time. And we really have to stop and say, like, I don't even need to do any of that. I don't need to say anything. I don't need to respond, especially if it makes me upset. Like, you don't have to do any of those things. I remember reading about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and how she was very deliberate with her pauses. And that would leave people like waiting several seconds because she was choosing her words carefully. I want to be just like that. And I still mess up. I still say things sometimes. I'm like, why did I say that? Because I'm human. Understanding how your brain works helps you identify ways that you can grow. Knowing the science is nice, but again, this is not something I am well versed in. I know enough, but you came here to become a better you. So, how do we do that? How do we avoid or prevent or even reduce our knee jerk reactions? One, first, know that it's happening. Like, know, like, oh, that was a knee jerk reaction. I want to do better next time. In the moments where you feel worked up, you feel that heat of frustration, your prefrontal cortex, that part of you that is so thoughtful, very considerate, remember that you love people, like it is completely offline. Not just gone. It's going to kick in, but your amygdala is already off and running while let's say your prefrontal cortex is just like putting on its shoes. So having that awareness can help you understand what's going on and also the awareness to help improve it. So another thing you could do is just name it. Like when it happens, again, that flash of heat, you can tell you're getting stressed out. Like just say, this is my amygdala. Just naming it activates the very part of your brain that you're trying to bring online, that prefrontal cortex. Breathe. We're creating that pause between the amygdala, prefrontal cortex. Just breathe. Like take that deep, intentional breath and like where your belly fills up and just, I always tell people like a birthday candle, like just blow that air out. I'm not sure if you knew this, but a slow, intentional exhale activates your vagus nerve and tells your nervous system, we're safe, stand down. Even 3 seconds changes your body chemistry, which is amazing. Lastly, delay the response, not the feeling. Your feelings are valid, 100%, right? You're allowed to feel the anger, hurt, get defensive, feel it completely. Just don't let that part of you be the one that's like drafting up a text message or writing up an email. Just delay your response because once it's out there, once you've said those words, that is your brand. That is how people may perceive you going forward based on a reaction where you did not allow yourself to pause. Okay, so we've talked about managing ourselves and recognizing those moments, but what if we know there is someone in front of us, or maybe even in a text message, whatever it is, that is having that knee jerk reaction? And maybe you've seen this before. You could say something completely normal, and there's a reaction right in front of you. They go rigid. Maybe their voice sharpens. Maybe they cut you off completely, or they go quiet. That's really not about you. That is someone else's nervous system reacting to something probably that's happened to them before, but it's just aimed in your direction. So, how can you spot it? How do you know? And again, I think the awareness helps us grow and to understand other people, and most importantly, not take things personally when someone does react to us that way. So, how can you spot it? A few things I've noticed is that their reaction doesn't really match the size of the moment. So, small comment, huge response. That is like a first sign of like something is not aligned here. It is instant. that knee-jerk reaction is already loaded before you finish the conversation, before you finish the sentence. So once you can name what is happening in someone else and you're aware of it, you've already changed your position in a conversation. Like you're not stuck reacting to their reaction anymore. And I think sometimes, like, I remember this happening in the workplace when there are some people, I believe, that just live with the amygdala in the driver's seat because everything is a big deal. Everything is a catastrophe. And then time goes on and it's not as big of a deal as they made it. And this happened recently. I was observing a conversation where this person was like sweating bullets because of a situation that they thought was an issue. Text messages are flying in. This person is panicking, like, I didn't know anything about the situation. And it turned out everybody overreacted and it wasn't as bad as everyone thought it was. But yet, the person who was the recipient was stressed out over it. And I think in that moment, everyone was just letting the amygdala drive. Panic happens. Like, and so it's just very interesting to watch once you see it happen and can recognize that in other people. So a couple things you don't want to do in those moments is match someone else's energy. Like if someone comes to you in a panic, a stir, like we talked about, remain calm, pause. You don't have to get to where they're at. That only invites a collision when there are two people in that fight or flight mode. Don't name it for them. So don't say you're overreacting and your amygdala is currently in control. No, that wouldn't land well. That is probably going to escalate a conversation easily. I think this last part I've probably dealt with as a recovering people pleaser, and that is shrinking yourself down or over apologizing just to make the tension stop. And that doesn't do anything but enable that to continue to happen. Oh, Monica's going to apologize. Monica's going to own this. And it gets better temporarily. Like maybe that tension does stop, but it doesn't fix the root of what's causing that person to respond the way they are. So what does help? Just get quiet. Like your job isn't to add fuel to a conversation. Pause again, like we talked about, just pause, take a deep breath, because that is going to help you stay grounded while someone else is in that fight or flight response. I believe in tabling a conversation. And I don't mean that in a way of like walking away from it with like arms crossed, but it's like, hey, you know what? Let's take a few minutes. Let's take some time. Let's get recentered on this conversation. When tensions have lowered, maybe that prefrontal cortex is ready to take the driver's seat. That is a really great time to continue a conversation. So every knee-jerk reaction that you witness, it's just information, not about like how difficult someone is, but most likely about where they're carrying something that's unhealed. That's where a lot of this comes from. Even when I talk with audiences about the amygdala, it's about change. Our brain interprets change as a threat. So if you've ever been through an experience where change was hard, well, then that's recalled back. Like we don't like this. And so a change comes our way and we're like threatened by it because we don't know how to process it. Anyhow, meet it with curiosity instead of defensiveness. You're not just managing conflict, you are becoming a safer person for people to come to because you are more grounded, because you're not feeding off of their reaction as well. So here's what I want you to sit with after listening to this podcast. That space between what happens and how you respond, that space is where your character lives, not your personality, right? There's a big difference between your personality, what people see, and your character. Your character is what you're rooted in, especially when things get hard and things don't go the way you thought they would. Your amygdala will always fire first. Again, that is just how it's designed. But whether it gets the final word, that is the part you build on and you grow. So the next time you feel that tightness in your chest, those words are just ready to fly off your tongue, pause. Just breathe. You don't have to say anything. Create that space, give time for that front part of your brain to kick in. That's it for today's episode of Becoming a Better You. If this one hit home, you could relate to it, you found it helpful, I encourage you to share it with someone else who could benefit from it. I'm Monica Brooks. Be kind to yourself, Be kind to your amygdala. It's just trying to keep you alive. Until next time.